A viewer of mine is currently traveling in central Java in Indonesia, and on purpose he didn't want to go to Bali or to Jakarta because he wants to find a so-called good Indonesian woman. So he is currently in Yogyakarta, one of my favorite spots, and he contacted me because he is a little bit struggling with getting in touch with girls there, with women. So he asked me for advice, and he told me that actually the interactions he has been having are nice, communication is easy, and the people are quite open. So far so good. But what confuses him is obviously girls or women are looking at him, they're smiling at him, they're talking to each other, but he is not sure what they think about him. Yeah, he even thinks, am I perceived as a freak, you know? Or are these girls just maybe fantasizing about how it is to have a foreigner boyfriend, you know? He also observes or has observed Indonesian couples, you know, younger couples who also look at him and then like start laughing, things like that. And he is asking himself, you know, what's the reason, what's going on, what is the meaning of all this? And of course, somehow he feels a little bit insecure about this experience. Yeah? He's trying to read the body language, the nonverbal communications to make sense of it. And this is basically his problem at the moment. And I can relate to that. Maybe some of you also can relate to that, you know. Yeah. And here again, I want to come back to the thing I mentioned in my previous video, you know, what was the title? Why Indonesia is not the land of milk and honey. You know, the videos I have been releasing, I'm praising Indonesia a lot, and also the women, and I talk about how apparently easy it is to date women, to get in touch with women. And again, I shoot also this video here because I want to counter these wrong perceptions, yeah, I might have created in some people's minds, okay? The best way actually to find out really is to travel to Indonesia, boots on the ground, and then you will learn it the hard way, either the hard way or you're gonna learn it the easy way, or you stumble upon some hard truth for yourself, right? But what I told him and what also my experience is, and this is the basic thing you need to know, Indonesians are by nature curious people. Yeah? They're curious, open-minded and welcoming, and they're not hostile at all. So when you walk down the street in any Indonesian city, maybe not so much in Jakarta and in Bali, but in the province, or maybe in Yogyakarta, or maybe in Surabaya, or some other cities in Indonesia, when you walk down the streets and girls are looking at you, they're smiling at you, they're even staring at you, or what's that? No, something falling from the trees here. So they're staring at you, they're even giggling at you, yeah? So that does not mean they're either hostile, but it also not means that they, for example, they smile at you. That doesn't mean they want to have sex with you or jump onto your lap and want to date you. It has nothing to do with it. This is just out of this smiling, giggling, maybe even staring is just curiosity, not more and not less. This is what you have to understand, okay? And we have to look at it a little bit more rational and objectively, yeah? Of course, every guy and probably also every girl likes when someone smiles at you, right? It increases your self-esteem and you think maybe, oh, I'm attractive to the other person. Depending on what you have in mind, what your needs are, If you are a very needy guy looking for a girlfriend no matter what, and your mission and your purpose is to hook up with the girl because you need a girlfriend, you need this girlfriend experience, then you are very, very needy, and then every smile and every look you come across, you interpret it as some kind of maybe even sexual interest. That's a big mistake because you are way too emotional, and I am not emotional today, but I'm kind of very hot. I always pick these places where the sun is really burning into my face. But anyway, I have to change position later. So you have to be more objectively and rational. You have to take it for what it is. If you walk down the street and a girl or some girls are smiling at you, then what is this? This is nothing but that they are smiling at you. That's it. If they're giggling, they're giggling. If they're staring, they're staring. That's what it is. Not more, not less. No need to interpret something into it, fantasize, romanticize. No. This is what you have to train yourself to be. More rational, more objectively, or if you will, more scientifically. In Yogyakarta, there's this famous street, Malioboro Street, and especially on the weekends, Fridays and Saturdays, you go there, there's thousands of people until late at night, like even midnight or past midnight, roaming the streets. Most of these people are coming from the provinces, the surrounding provinces, villages and small cities, And it will happen if you walk there as a foreigner, especially during the evening also, people, not only girls, Indonesian people will look at you, they will stare at you, they might even want to take pictures with you, This all happened to me also. And this is, again, you are kind of an attraction to them, and people are just curious only, They don't want your money. They don't bother you with boring conversation. They're just curious, and Indonesian people are in that way open and welcoming and smiling. This is just their culture. This is their nature. This is their mentality. This is what you need to know. And if you know this, there's no more room for wrong interpretation. If some girls look at you at Malioboro Street on a Friday evening, then probably they're coming from the province. When was the last time they saw a bule, a foreigner, live on the streets? Maybe years ago. So you are something novel, they look at you and maybe smile at you a little bit, but don't make this mistake just because they smile at you, they want to have sex with you immediately, or want to date you or even marry you. This is very dangerous thinking on your part. We have to sort this out. We have to interpret this correctly. Because I always was falling for this, I was a needy guy in my early years in Southeast Asia, so I interpreted things completely in the wrong way, So we have to learn to interpret these non-verbal communication and signs correctly. Again, you just have to know 3 things. Number 1, Indonesians are very curious by nature. They are open in general, and they are welcoming. Unlike other Southeast Asian countries, for example, Vietnam. And this is my personal experience. Good luck with Vietnamese girls smiling at you in the streets of Saigon or Nha Trang or Da Nang. It's not going to happen. It not happened to me. They have a different mentality, and they're a little bit more closed, towards foreigners. Oh, Marcel, now you just said it again. They're open and they're curious and they're welcoming. So, if these girls are so open, welcoming and curious, why don't they come to me and talk to me and ask me for my phone number or want to date me? Again, this is distorted thinking. This is irrational thinking. This is emotional thinking. First of all, it's not the girl's job to approach you. and ask for your number. That's your job. In general, we can say, and this is my experience, I mentioned it so many times, you know, Indonesian women, especially the good ones, and there are plenty of them, millions of these girls in this country, good Indonesian women will not approach a man. It's not their job, it's your job. And even the Indonesian men, they know that. That's the dynamics here in Indonesia. Yeah? You have to approach, it's expected from you to approach. Yeah? The only women who will approach you are most likely hookers, freelancers, bar girls, prostitutes, escort girls, you know, or sales ladies, you know, like it happened to me a few months ago. I shot a video about this, you know. I was also walking down the streets in Yogyakarta. Suddenly this very pretty, attractive young Indonesian woman started talking to me in English, very well English. I was kind of shocked and appalled because it was very unexpected. And she started talking, we started chit-chatting, and she said something about Indonesian coffee, and coincidentally at the same time I researched this luwak coffee, you know, a very famous thing in Indonesia. So she said, yeah, I'm selling this luwak coffee here and there, and we have a small exhibition there, and why don't you just join me and you have a look around? I said, yeah, it's interesting. So I hopped on her bike, we drove there, she dropped me there, she disappeared, and then I just started to figure out what the game was all about. She kind of picked me up, brought me to her friend's place, and then she left, she disappeared, I never saw her again. But I ended up in this coffee shop there where they produced this luwak coffee, and then eventually the whole setup was I need to look around and later buy the expensive coffee. So, you know, this is the thing. You approach, end of story, okay? You have to think of something. This is the golden rule, basically. That's the rule of thumb in Indonesia. Yeah? So when you know these three things, that Indonesian people in general are open, curious, and welcoming, open-minded, this should be your base, okay? And this knowledge alone should make you feel safe, secure, and more relaxed, okay? And then you can start pursuing a strategy or approaching a strategy or whatever it is. Yeah? Of course, several factors always play a role when also in Indonesia, you know, walking down the streets, you see a pretty girl, she maybe even is looking at you, but you know, you also need a little bit of luck. There is no blueprint, you know. Everything I share in my videos is true, it's based on my experience, and again, I do not want that you get the wrong perceptions, that you think, it's so easy. Marcel always says how easy it is and how much fun it is, and he's always bragging about his experience. I'm not bragging about my experiences, you know what? Maybe you take all these messages on face value, and then you come with these expectations, and you get disappointed because, it's not like Marcel always says, you know, I'm struggling, and this is not true, and the Indonesian women, they don't even look at me, and this and that, you know. I mean, there's so many things to play a role, your personality, the kind of energy and vibe you exude, you know. So what is your approaching style? Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert, you know? Are you indifferent? Are you someone who don't give a shit and just let go and see what's happening? Or are you someone who is really needy, you know, and always staring at the pretty girls on the streets? You know, of course, when you do that, girls get also scared of you. They really start thinking, what kind of freak is this guy staring at me? You know, they run away. The energy, if you exude this kind of energy, good luck in any country with approaching girls, you know. But again, know these three things, and that should make you secure, because this is the reality, okay? You cannot plan this like a military campaign, you know, dating and approaching women in Indonesia, you know. Let go, relax, you know. I know it's tough for some guys who come to Indonesia for the sole purpose of finding a woman. But you set yourself up for failure, because you cannot force anything, right? We have to come here with this kind of attitude. Let's see what's happening, and if nothing happening, this is also something happening. If nothing is happening, that means also something is happening. It's just that nothing is happening. So, and if nothing is happening, so be it. You know, then it's the experience. This is the time that's nothing is happening. So don't get frustrated over this. But again, it comes back to you. You might have some psychological issues, you know, you are needy. Why is that? Why do you need to find an Indonesian girlfriend now? I mean, why not later? Why not next year? Why don't you approach this thing very relaxed and easygoing? Why is so much pressure on yourself? Why do you need this now? I mean, you have to seriously ask yourself this, look into the mirror and maybe introspect before you come to Indonesia or to any Southeast Asian country for that matter, you know? Because you will set yourself up just for failure because you put the pressure on yourself, you want to force things, and then if nothing is happening after 1 week, you completely lose it, you get frustrated, you might say, Indonesia sucks and the girl sucks and Marcel is a liar. And I say, again, this is just emotional behavior, emotional uttering of BS. You're completely emotional, irrational, distorted thinking. There's nothing rational and objectively here, you know? That's the thing. And I speak out of my own experience here again, you know, because I was behaving this way also in my early days and years, you know? I was a desperate guy, even there was no need, you know? And yeah, I do all these videos, a lot of them, I've been doing them for 2 years now. But basically what I convey in my videos is my experiences and how easy it is to meet and date Indonesian girls, which it is in general. But of course, you know, the content of my videos is basically the essence of 20 years, almost 20 years dating in Southeast Asia and also Indonesia. That's the essence, you know? And that might create wrong perceptions in some people's minds. I agree. But this is how it is. Yeah? And I also need you to put on your thinking cap, if you have one. If not, you can buy them at Walmart for $2.99. I'm just kidding. But put on your thinking cap as well and judge my videos correctly, you know. I mean, obviously I only can talk out of my own experience, and you might have completely different experiences. I mean, I'm almost 20 years in Indonesia, I'm dating the girls, and you have never been to Indonesia, so automatically your experience is zero. You can add nothing to the conversation. It's not your fault, it's nothing good, nothing bad, but the fact is you have zero experience. But I do have, and of course I convey the positive sides also, you know. But trust me, I have plenty of a fair share of my own blunders with Indonesian women. I just did not talk about it, you know. This is rational thinking. If you approach my videos like this, hey, this guy is always talking about how easy everything is, but I'm pretty sure he must have also has his fair share of blunders. And that's correct. If you assume that, then you apply rational and objective thinking. I'm just mentioning this. He's not mentioning this, you know. Why is he not mentioning this? I mentioned this already, but you know, it's about the perception, you know. So of course I have my fair share of blunders, girls who didn't like me, girls who didn't talk to me, girls who run away, girls who blocked me, girls who didn't show up for our dates. I shared this in my videos, you know. And maybe also girls who thought I'm a freak. Girls who accused me of being a liar and a cheater and the whole 9 yards, you know. So if you want me to talk more about my blunders, I can do that, let me know. Yeah? I do not want to portray myself here as the dating king of Indonesia. I've never done this. I've never said I am the dating king, and I never wanted to be, and I'm not, you know. Just a guy who thought 2 years ago I'm starting to share my experiences with dating Indonesian women, you know. Just take it as it is. Again, that's what it is, not more, not less. I'm not idealizing Indonesian girls. I'm not putting them on a pedestal. or anything like that. I don't want to. This would be also, from my part or on my part, irrational behavior and thinking. Completely distorted and idiotic, you know. My approach is rational and objectively. This is my own standard also for these videos, you know. I do not manage it all the time, but I try. So again, short story long. Yes, Indonesia is not a walk in the park if you have thought this. And Indonesia is also not for everyone. And I also told my viewer, if he is really struggling with approaching girls on the streets or in the mall or in the restaurant in Indonesia here, then he should try the dating sites. And I know some guys, they will say, yeah, don't come here with this crappy dating site stuff, they're all scammers there. This is not true, they're not all scammers. If you use certain dating sites like Tinder, yeah, you run around, you will run into a lot of hookers and stuff, but try the dating sites, there's nothing wrong with it. Just subscribe for a month, put up a profile, set up a profile, and then see what's happening. Incorporate this into your strategy, okay? You'll never know, you know. I found some of my Indonesian girlfriends on the dating sites. The one benefit is that these women on these dating sites, most of them want to date foreigners. They know what they want. And so it will be easier to hook up, you know. And you don't need to run around in the streets and try to play detective, you know. Oh, is she smiling at me? What does it mean? Is she interested? Yeah, she must be interested in me. Maybe she wants to date me. Maybe she wants to have sex with me tomorrow. No need to do that, you know. You don't need to wreck your brain, yeah, when you meet women online. Of course, I'm just saying, you know, incorporate this into your strategy. I will not talk about online dating now. There are also pros and cons, you know. So, but you have to keep your options open and create more options to date and to meet women. So with that being said, I'm checking out for today. I hope this helped. This was a very, very, in my opinion, a very good topic to talk and to talk about, because I also was struggling with this. And in my early days and years when I was a needy man, you know, so everything, any positive non-verbal communication you interpret like accordingly, right? You read it as a sign of interest and sympathy, or maybe even sexual attraction, but you have to be very, very careful. Your thinking is solely driven by your emotions and expectation and dreams and fantasies. It's dangerous. We need to get more rational and more objectively. We have to train ourselves to think correctly. Learning how to think is the most difficult task in our lifetime, because our thinking is so influenced by biases and stereotypes and so many different things. Learning how to think and look at things rationally and objectively and form proper judgments and conclusions. This not only applies to dating Indonesian women, it also applies to your finances, to your health, to other relationships, your career, your businesses, everything. Investing, right? Learning how to think properly. This should be on everybody's agenda, right on top of all the points. So, enough moralizing for today. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Share your experiences, please. Did you have any problems approaching girls in the streets? Yes, no? Or do you prefer the dating sites? Let us know. And I'm gonna see you in one of my next videos. Take care. Bye bye.